and oral traditions of non-dual Shaivism of Kashmir. Among the many serious academicians who made a beeline to his ashram was the distinguished Tantra scholar Lillian Silburn. She was accompanied by the great French scholar Andrepado, for whom Swamiji was the last depository of the teaching of Trika, as it was transmitted from master to disciple for centuries.
Well, I first heard about Swamiji in the early 70s because I began studying Kashmiri Shaivism in 1970 in Benares. He gave me initiation. I was not feeling very well then. I was mentally very disturbed, very, very disturbed. I was working very, very hard. That put me under tremendous mental pressure. But Swamiji, I think what he wanted me to see was that liberation is a reality. So for this, to say I'm grateful to Swamiji would be saying very little. Well, all the books I wrote up to 92 were all the result of Swamiji's inspiration. I wrote about Spanda and Spanda Karika and the Shiva Sutra, and these I read with Swamiji, or I listened to recordings. But it was his spirituality. And it's the authenticity of that which was important for me.
Swamiji's greatest contribution was to interpret the Kashmir Shaivite text to people not necessarily of scholarly disposition. His important works include commentaries on the Shiv Sutra and Vigyan Bhairav, and his discourses and writings on various aspects of Kashmir Shaivism. His other notable contributions were Kashmir Shaivism, the Secret Supreme, and his translations of the Tantra Lok. His incomplete manuscript on the Trika philosophy has now been brought out by the Ishwar Ashram Trust in Swamiji's own calligraphic hand.
Well, the first time we heard Swamiji lecture on Kashmir Shaivism was when we came in 1971, and there was just John and I and Shauna. So we would sit in the hall. It was his first hall. It was a tiny little hall, but very cozy and warm. It was all mudded and had beautiful pictures of saints and gods and goddesses on the wall. And John took out his tape recorder and Swamiji began to lecture. And it was just beautiful. These were concepts that I never knew existed, never could have imagined existed, and they were just engrossing.
In the beginning, he gave us a series of lectures on the important points of Shaivism, and I said, I'm going to teach you the important points of Shaivism. And basically, he took and he revealed and unfolded, that not many of this is what people would say are secret teachings, or teachings that are really only known by someone who has actually lived the tradition. And I realized after I'd been there some time that his tradition and his way of teaching was not to give lectures in a sense of, but to base his understanding revelation on scripture that was already revealed, and we have over 500 hours of revelations, I call them, that he gave us, because they're not just strict translations in the sense you think of that, where he's actually revealing the text. He'll take the verse, whatever it is, and then he expounds on it and expands it and brings it home, as I would say. And so we had over 500 hours of these revelations, and more than half of those are on Tathaloka.
Alice Christensen was another disciple who did yeoman service in bringing out Swamiji's teachings. She video recorded her interviews with him about his life, thoughts, and beliefs over a decade. A lasting treasure for all those interested in Swamiji's teachings.
The ultimate point.
Yes, the
ultimate
ultimate
point
point.
is thoughtless point.
It's thoughtlessness.
Yes.
It's thoughtlessness.
You have to tread on the path of thought towards thoughtless point. So it means that this whole universe is without thought.
Well,
In fact, if we try to realize it, it will be thoughtless. It is not. Nothing is in movement. Although everything is in movement,
it seems to be.
but it is not moving.
The Gupta Ganga Srinagar was another venue for Swamiji's weekly discourses. It was under the Dharmarth Trust, headed by Dr. Karan Singh, that the complex became an important center for various seminars on Kashmir Shaivism. In fact, Swamiji's famous talk on meditative practices and spiritual discipline was delivered here.
In 1987, I went for a seminar on Kashmir Shaivism that was conducted by, sponsored by ICPR at that time. And now, as a member of the delegation, the whole, all the scholars, and particularly Dr. Professor Dayakrishna. In fact, Professor Dayakrishna belongs to a particular line of thinking. He views everything rationally. So, along with him, all the delegates went to Swamiji, and we had a discussion, and then certain questions were placed. Main speaker was Dayakrishna ji and Swamiji. So, naturally, then on rationalism, he put some questions, and on mystic experiences. But it was a very nice gathering. We remained there for about 2 hours, talked to Swamiji. In fact, his works have been main source of inspiration. And number two, his following all over the India and his following even beyond the frontiers of the country, and particularly his companionship with Acharya Lakshman, Rameshwar Jha, these things inspired me.
Like Abhinav Gupta, some of the earlier followers of Swamiji were his closest kin. His transformation from Lal Sahib, the respected elder, to Swamiji, and how they became his ardent devotees is an interesting chapter in their lives.
हमारे घर में उनकी काफ़ी मानता रही है. इनिशियली फैमिली वाज टुगेदर, उसका हमको ख़ास ख्याल नहीं है. बट हमारे जो ग्रैंडफादर थे, उन्होंने अपने व्हेन ही वाज लिविंग, उन्होंने अलग अलग इनको कर दिया था. तो इसलिए 2 घर थे और एक स्वामी जी का आश्रम था. हमें ये खाली ये फीलिंग थी कि जी स्वामी जी के पास जाना है. स्वामी जी जैसे मेरी बहन ने कहा है, मतलब हम उनको लाल साहब के नाम से ही जानते थे और पुकारते थे भी.
इसलिए ये 3-4 बच्चे आसान तो सैस गरस मज हुंदुई एटमॉस्फेयर 24 घंटन आसान. बेस तूत तुंद इज्जत डर ते एनवायरमेंट बसान इल्यूम गोमुतन. इसका इल्यूमिनेशन गसान मनस मज या ज्वाल हिश
शुरूस मज बसान कि स्वामी मतलब सपोज इज माई अंकल या गरुक सदस्य या बे कह. बट बाय द पैसेज ऑफ द टाइम ये ना कि मैच्योरिटी हिच अस आई अस बासो पे ना तूत रिलेशन बे कह रिलेशन डेवलप करनी एज गुरु एंड ऑल दैट.
His father was also saint. I personally think my grandfather Narayan Das was equally a great saint, and I used to tell him that. I used to talk to him about this And I said he was a great saint because he, Kak as we used to call him, he used to bow before his son. And I used to ask my grandfather, what a funny thing, you bow before your son? Who is he? As a child, I remember I was 5-year-old child. He says, no, he is no longer just a child, my son. He is a great scholar. He has learned. He is very near God. He is an emergent and evolving saint.
असली जो मेरी पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस है, मुझे इस बात का एहसास उनकी महानता का तब हुआ जब महर्षि महेश योगी कश्मीर आए। तो हम गाड़ी में बैठे थे, महर्षि जी और वो जो मेरे दोस्त वो चला रहे थे। तो उन्होंने मेरे दोस्त ने उनसे कहा कि ये स्वामी जी के भाई के लड़के हैं। तो उन्होंने मेरी तरफ थोड़ा सा गौर से देख के कहा कि आप स्वामी जी को जानते हैं? तो मेरे जवाब देने से पहले उन्होंने कहा कि आपको, हम सबको और सारी दुनिया को इस बात का फ़ख्र होना चाहिए कि स्वामी जी जैसे व्यक्ति ने इस दुनिया में जन्म लिया है।
Gradually, all the family members realized the greatness of Lal Sahib and sought refuge in his feet. He in turn instructed them in the Kashmir Shaiv, gave them initiation and set them on the spiritual path. In the beginning, it was only a small group of pupils. Samvid Prakash Dhar, one of Swamiji's senior disciples, has this interesting anecdote to narrate.
Which he used to teach among 5 or 6 students of his, Janakirath Ji Labru, Janakinath Patwari, Jagannath Patwari, Nilkant Ji Bakaya, Amra, this Arjanath Haswal, and Ramju Ban. So when I told Swamiji that, sir, will you give me an opportunity to regularly attend these lectures? He said, you will not understand. But you do come and prepare tea for us, and that will be your assignment. But I used to see Swamiji would often during those lectures go into raptures. Repeatedly, he would laugh and weep simultaneously. After he would recite a shloka or explain in the middle of explanation, he would get so much ecstasy.
Goda wonu aki athvari, pat wonu be ath. Yota maharabam heri vestis kalas. Ekis various chusba athvaran khasani hor. I would go to every Sunday to Swamiji. Ye mannoy met. Mish patay zara ish kya tha na. He would just see whether he is inclined, whether he is actually particular about this thing or not. You must bole amad mein mazaka karne.
Swamiji would always take care of his disciples, and I must say even today he takes care of his disciples. I must personally say that whenever I have had problems, I have never mentioned to him. But it somehow so happened that he would realize that he is having a problem, and he would solve the problem, resolve the problems.
A special day when Swamiji made himself accessible to his devotees was his birthday. Though initially a private affair, it later became a festive occasion for thousands to participate in. This video recording, for instance, captures the devotional fervor his devotees felt for him